Welcome to Life Lessons. Today, we explore the power of wisdom through the lens of the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha taught that wisdom is not merely knowledge, but an essential ability to see the truth of life and to find inner peace, free from suffering. 1. What is wisdom? In the Buddha's teachings, wisdom is the ability to perceive life's true nature. It goes beyond intellectual understanding, instead involving an insight into the impermanence of everything around us, material objects, emotions, and even our relationships. The Buddha emphasized that wisdom enables us to realize that everything is subject to change. This impermanence, or anicca, implies that nothing remains static, from the grand arc of a lifetime to fleeting moments of joy or sorrow, everything flows and shifts with time. Imagine a river flowing through a vast land. Its waters are constantly moving, its form always changing. Like this river, life moves forward, never remaining the same. Through wisdom, we come to see life like this river, always in flux, always transforming. This realization lessens our attachment to things and helps us let go of the need to possess or control. It frees us from the suffering that arises when we expect things to stay as they are. The cause of suffering, attachment. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from our tendency to cling to things we believe to be permanent, whether it's a relationship, a possession, or a social status. We may think these will bring us lasting happiness, but when they inevitably change or fade, suffering follows. Wisdom allows us to understand that life's nature is impermanent. When we recognize this, we can appreciate what we have without feeling devastated when things change or end. Seeing things as they are. True wisdom, according to the Buddha, is not learned from books. It's a deeper clarity that helps us see everything as it truly is, rather than as we might wish it to be. This clarity prevents us from being misled by illusions. When we develop wisdom, we stop clinging to temporary things and begin to accept life's truth with ease and grace. Wisdom doesn't mean abandoning everything or becoming indifferent. Instead, it is about living mindfully, loving deeply but without grasping, caring for others while allowing them their own journey. We can cherish our family, friends, and work, but with wisdom, we know how to let go when necessary and embrace life's changes without feeling a sense of loss. Embracing the present moment. Consider a simple flower. If we understand that this flower will wither in a few days, we can appreciate its beauty in the present without wishing for it to last forever. We feel gratitude for the joy it brings now, without sorrow when it fades, for we understand this fading is natural. Similarly, in life, we can relish relationships and moments of happiness without clinging to them. Wisdom helps us live fully in each moment, savoring it without demanding permanence. The Buddha once said that if we see the truth of impermanence and learn to let go, we liberate ourselves from suffering. Managing emotions through wisdom. Wisdom also guards us against negative emotions like anger, fear, or sorrow. When someone causes us pain, instead of allowing anger to take control, we can ask ourselves, is this truly worth my suffering? Guided by wisdom, we realize that emotions are transient and not worth our attachment. This awareness allows us to forgive, let go, and return to a state of peace. By nurturing wisdom, we cultivate an understanding that leads to greater resilience, compassion, and inner freedom. Through the Buddha's teachings, we find that wisdom is a gentle, yet powerful path to a life of joy, harmony, and liberation from suffering. The power of wisdom in understanding and letting go, inspired by the teachings of the Buddha. Recognizing suffering in others and developing compassion. Wisdom reveals that each person carries their own suffering. When someone acts unkindly, wisdom encourages us not to respond with anger or blame but to consider that they may be going through their own difficulties. With this perspective, we can find it easier to forgive and empathize, allowing ourselves to release resentment and pain. The Buddha emphasized that understanding others' pain is a pathway to reducing anger within ourselves. Practicing mindfulness and meditation. To nurture wisdom, the Buddha encouraged the practices of mindfulness and meditation. Meditation calms the mind, allowing us to see things more objectively. When the mind is not disturbed, we gain clarity about life's nature, free from illusions or desires. Gradually, wisdom grows within us, helping us to navigate life with greater peace and ease. Wisdom as a lifelong journey. Wisdom is not a quick fix but a lifelong journey that requires daily cultivation. When we live with wisdom, we are no longer easily swayed by fleeting desires and emotions. We learn to slow down, to love deeply yet let go, to accept life as it is, and to live in harmony with reality. Wisdom thus helps us transcend personal suffering and also radiates peace to those around us. A person who embodies wisdom becomes a source of comfort and inspiration for others, offering a sense of calm in an ever-changing world. This is the essence of wisdom that the Buddha taught, a power that enables us to live with happiness and tranquility amidst life's uncertainties. 2. Wisdom as a key to self-understanding. In the Buddha's teachings, wisdom is not just about understanding the external world but also shines a light on our inner selves. Wisdom allows us to look deeply within, recognizing that the root of our suffering does not lie in external circumstances but within our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes. The Buddha emphasized that when we understand our inner workings, we can gradually release attachments and experience true peace. Many of us believe that our sorrow, frustration, or suffering comes from external sources, other people's words, difficult circumstances, or dissatisfaction with life. However, the Buddha revealed that suffering actually arises from our own minds. It stems from how we think, feel, and react to what happens. When wisdom illuminates these thoughts, we see that it is our attachments and desires that are at the heart of our pain. For example, when someone says or does something that hurts us, we often blame them. But looking deeper within, we see that this anger stems from our expectation that others should behave as we wish. When they do not, disappointment and resentment arise. Wisdom helps us realize that no one is responsible for our satisfaction. By letting go of these expectations, we free ourselves from anger and suffering. Seeing emotions as temporary. The Buddha taught that all emotions, whether joy or sorrow, are temporary. With wisdom, we recognize that feelings like anger, jealousy, or sadness are transient, arising from specific circumstances and thoughts. We do not need to identify with these emotions or define ourselves by them. Instead, we can observe them calmly, like watching clouds passing across the sky. Whether white or dark, the clouds eventually dissolve. Wisdom teaches us to acknowledge these emotions without getting swept up in them, without letting them control our lives. When we feel anger, instead of allowing it to erupt and harm ourselves or others, we can take a moment to ask, why am I angry? Is this really worth my suffering? By examining this closely, we see that anger is a natural reaction of the mind and does not require our response. Over time, wisdom allows us to see that emotions are just temporary waves and not worth clinging to. Through cultivating wisdom, we learn to engage with the world without attachment, to appreciate life's beauty without fear of loss, and to find tranquility within ourselves regardless of the changing world around us. Mindfulness for self-understanding. A key teaching from the Buddha for cultivating wisdom is the practice of mindfulness, living with a clear awareness of each moment. Mindfulness enables us to observe our thoughts and emotions objectively. When we are mindful, we no longer drift along with our emotions, instead, we witness them as if we were an observer. This approach gradually deepens our understanding of ourselves, our reactions, thoughts, and the way we perceive life. In every situation, mindful wisdom helps us to see what is happening in our minds clearly. This clarity allows us to make decisions based on insight rather than impulsive reactions. For instance, when faced with a frustrating situation, a wise person does not let anger take over immediately but instead pauses, breathes, observes the anger, and gradually releases it. They understand that emotions are not their true self but temporary parts of the mind. This perspective reduces the power emotions have over our lives, allowing us to remain balanced and centered. Compassion and self-understanding as pathways to freedom from suffering. The Buddha emphasized that understanding oneself must go hand in hand with compassion. When we understand ourselves deeply, we also recognize our own vulnerabilities and challenges. This awareness helps us to avoid harsh self-criticism and, instead, to treat ourselves with compassion. Viewing ourselves with kindness helps lighten our burdens, reducing suffering and fostering acceptance of our imperfections. Compassion toward ourselves also forms the foundation for cultivating compassion toward others. When we recognize that we too have moments of weakness, we naturally develop empathy for others, understanding that they may also face hardships and make mistakes. Wisdom then helps us to let go of resentment, replacing it with tolerance and forgiveness. As we release resentment and attachment to past wounds, our hearts become peaceful and joyful. 3. Practicing wisdom daily. To develop wisdom, the Buddha encouraged regular practices of meditation and mindfulness. Each time we set aside moments for meditation, we have the opportunity to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. This process allows us to realize that these thoughts and emotions are not our true essence but rather passing phenomena. Gradually, wisdom frees us from the control of negative emotions, bringing inner peace and freedom. For example, when we meditate and notice thoughts of someone who has hurt us, rather than trying to push away these thoughts, we can look at them with compassion and detachment. We might ask, why do I feel hurt? What does this mean to me? Through this reflection, we see that such hurt is just a reaction of the mind, not the totality of who we are. Wisdom as liberation from suffering. As wisdom deepens, we become more aware of life's impermanence. Everything in life changes, including our emotions. When we understand this, we are no longer imprisoned by fleeting thoughts or emotions. The Buddha described wisdom as a light that illuminates, helping us see both ourselves and the world with clarity. Wisdom empowers us to release negative emotions, sparing ourselves from prolonged suffering. When we cultivate wisdom, we view ourselves and others with compassion, free from resentment and attachments. This allows us to live with a light heart, recognizing that emotions and thoughts are merely small parts of our life journey. In essence, the wisdom taught by the Buddha is not only a tool for understanding the world but also a key to understanding ourselves. Through wisdom, we liberate ourselves from suffering, no longer governed by transient emotions or thoughts, and can live mindfully, with compassion and acceptance, bringing peace to both ourselves and those around us. 4. Letting go of attachments to find freedom, a Buddhist perspective. Suffering arises from attachment. In the Buddha's teachings, attachment to desires and emotions is the primary cause of suffering. Attachment here means a psychological state in which we depend on external things, such as ideas, feelings, desires, and even personal identity, to feel satisfied. When we expect everything to go our way, pain arises when life doesn't meet these expectations. This concept is clearly illustrated in the Four Noble Truths, the foundation of Buddhism. Existence is tied to suffering, dukkha, and attachment, tanha, is the root cause of this suffering. This doesn't mean that everything inherently causes suffering, rather, anything can cause suffering if we cling to it. In reality, everything around us is constantly changing, and to hold on to something with the belief that it will remain unchanged only leads to disappointment. In summary, the Buddha's teachings encourage us to develop wisdom through mindfulness and meditation, to understand ourselves, and to release our attachments to external expectations. This allows us to experience true freedom, peace, and compassion in life. Letting go does not mean indifference. A common misconception is that letting go means being indifferent or uncaring. However, according to the Buddha, letting go is a state of acceptance and compassion. Letting go allows us to love and appreciate everything without imposing expectations. It doesn't mean we stop caring for others or the important aspects of life, rather, we are no longer trapped by the need for things to go our way. We can visualize this with the image of a river. As water flows by, we may try to hold a small amount in our hands, but ultimately, it will slip away. Similarly, letting go does not mean abandoning everything, it's about allowing things to pass naturally without clinging to them. Practicing letting go enables us to love and value the present without needing to hold on to it forever. Freedom and peace through letting go. When we release our attachments, the mind becomes freer. The Buddha taught that this freedom releases us from anxieties about the future and regrets about the past. With nothing to hold on to, the mind becomes lighter, unburdened by demands or expectations. This freedom is not emptiness, rather, it's an inner fullness, allowing us to live in each moment with clarity and presence. For example, when we invest too heavily in a relationship, we may feel anxious or fearful about losing the person. However, by loving without attachment, inner freedom and peace flourish. We can still nurture the relationship, accepting that it may change. This approach makes the relationship more genuine and profound, free from the constraints of expectations. Practicing letting go. To cultivate letting go, the Buddha encouraged the development of mindfulness and meditation. Meditation allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions objectively, without becoming entangled in them. Through meditation, we learn not to identify ourselves with our thoughts or emotions but to watch them as clouds passing through the sky. Over time, we come to understand that these emotions are not our true essence, but simply passing phenomena. In addition to meditation, practicing compassion for ourselves and others helps us let go. When confronted with wounds or negative emotions, we can acknowledge and accept them rather than rejecting or reacting strongly. Self-compassion liberates us from guilt or self-criticism, and our minds become open and peaceful. Living with mindfulness and non-attachment. Ultimately, letting go is not a destination but a continuous journey. Each day brings situations that can create attachments, whether it's a passing thought, an idea, or a momentary emotion. Gradually, we learn to recognize these attachments and release them over time. When the mind is unbound, we experience joy and peace within. This freedom helps us to live without suffering, unshaken by fleeting emotions. Living mindfully does not mean withdrawing from life but embracing it fully and freely in each moment, unburdened by unnecessary attachments. Underscore 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 underscore. Letting go is an art of living that brings us inner peace and freedom. It is not just a theory but a daily practice in each thought, feeling, and action. The Buddha taught that true happiness doesn't come from acquiring or holding on but from freedom from unnecessary bonds. As we learn to let go, life becomes lighter, more serene, and we can welcome each moment with an open heart. Conclusion. True wisdom is not superiority in knowledge but the ability to see the impermanent nature of life and let go of what binds us. Only through letting go can we experience a life of peace and freedom from suffering. The Buddha taught that wisdom allows us not only to understand life but also to recognize ourselves, enabling us to live peacefully amid life's ever-changing nature. I hope today's video has given you new insights into wisdom from the Buddha's teachings. If you find this content helpful, please like and share to spread this value to more people. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Lessons as we continue exploring profound lessons on life and wisdom. May you live with peace and mindfulness, with each moment a time of serenity and understanding.